From outside entrants to potential mainstream players, nothing has a new flagship phone, so let's get it unboxed and give you some of our thoughts. So right, if you were expecting big changes, then prepare to be disappointed or even elated, whichever side of the fence you do end up falling on. Good news, the unboxing experience has improved here. It's still a disposable package that consists of a recycled sleeve that does actually rip to shreds and probably does need to go in the recycling, as much of this packaging can. There is a new insert here though, so at least for resale purposes, you should have something to keep your phone and accessories safe and somewhat secure. It's definitely a better experience than the Nothing Phone 1. The biggest change though in this package, at least including the phone itself, is to the charging cable, which I would say, to put it mildly, is pretty darn beautiful. And I'm speaking for myself there, obviously. You can see the signature clear casing with the dot matrix nothing logo. It's all part of that transparent design language, and although it's still just a regular old USB-C to C cable, it does enable 45-watt charging. After all, it's all about that product cohesion, something Nothing has really done from the get-go. And even if I didn't use the phone itself, I actually would want one of these charge cables, and in fact I do want one of these cables to keep, so you may see this around the channel a little bit more. Rounding out the accessories in the box is that industrial fuse-like SIM eject tool. This doesn't work actually with many phones that I've tried, as it's slightly too thick and it can damage the SIM eject area, so be careful if you're going to plan on switching out from another phone at any point. There is some paperwork included in this packaging too, so far so similar to many other phones out there. As for the Phone 2, well, from the leaks it looks a lot like the Phone 1. There's a new grey colour for 2023, which I think is actually an appropriate middle ground between the black and white models from the previous generation. It's not a huge departure though. This is not a like-for-like carbon copy of the previous generation, as it's actually a tiny bit bigger in all dimensions, meaning it's taller and marginally wider than the Phone 1, if that is going to be a problem for you. The back glass also has a super subtle curves towards those flat sides at the edges, but luckily there's a completely flat 6.67 inch 120Hz Full HD Plus screen at the front, which is upped from 6.55 inches on the previous gen, which is obviously going to be a big change for some of you out there. The punch hole has also jumped from the upper left to, I think, a superior central position, which only affects some of the UI portions. We know fine well that the Glyph lighting is a bit of a gimmick despite being pretty eye-catching and one of the core selling points. It has changed a little bit here though as well. Although at first glance it does look identical, there is a new layout on the LEDs are separated into more strips, which takes up what they're calling 11 zones. And the result is that this panel definitely looks more symmetrical, and it does help that you can customize these lighting elements through the new essential Glyph options within the settings of Nothing OS. A brand new feature with this does allow you to do things like sync Uber with the light at the back so that the phone will show pickup progress or the progress of your driver, and that will be available to more applications soon. How useful this will depend on just how often you set your phone face down, I guess, but it is a nice usage of a feature that does seem like a gimmick, at least from afar. Thankfully though, the Phone 2 is no longer just a bog standard mid-ranger, which is going to be the one reason it's probably an easier recommendation to anyone in the market for a new phone out there. At the heart of this is the last year's flagship Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 SoC, meaning that the Nothing Phone 2 is no slouch across the board. Sure, it's definitely not going to usurp the S23s and the OnePluses out there. Still, it does directly rival the likes of the Pixel 7, the 7 Pro, and even the recent 7a, at least in raw performance, which I think makes this definitely an interesting option in North American markets, considering it is priced around that baseline Pixel 7 at $599. Couple those specifications with the lean Android 13 build that has a few neat extra options and tuning features. Yes, I think this might be of interest to people out there who are previous or long-time Oxygen OS fans. There are nice, neat little flourishes that make Android 13 a little bit more approachable than Google's vanilla flavoring. Even with some added spice and flavoring though, I think it's just as usable as it is on Pixel, and it's silky smooth thanks to the improved 120Hz LTPO screen in conjunction with that improved processor, and obviously the full specs are on the screen for you spec heads out there. We're going to be testing the Phone 2 camera setup as well over the coming days and weeks, but there are some changes and upgrades for an improved system. The 50 megapixel Sony IMX 890 primary camera does offer a decent bump, but the 50 megapixel Samsung JN1 is still set here as the ultra wide. The selfie camera has also been bumped up to 32 megapixels, which is another neat change, rounding out these little incremental upgrades that we are seeing from Nothing on their second smartphone. We've already shared some samples over on AndroidAuthority.com that you can check out in full resolution if you want to see just how good the images are on a pre-release device. Here's a sneak peek though, but so far so good, at least to our eyes. We'll have a little bit more analysis over the coming days, so stay tuned for that. Although we don't yet have a full verdict, my personal feeling is that if the Nothing Phone 1 felt or appeared like a modest mid-ranger, then the Nothing Phone 2 is more like the Nothing Phone 1 Pro. You're getting upgrades, but a fair amount of the Phone 1 recipe, which begs the question, will we see a proper Pro model in the not too distant future? Well, who knows? At this early stage, the Phone 2 looks like a respectable follow-up for a fledgling brand, but definitely not a rewriting of history. I actually want to give some credit though where it's due. We haven't spent too long with the Phone 2, but it's only the 5th product from this startup, although they are backed quite heavily financially, at $599 for 8GB of RAM on 128GB of storage. There's a fair amount of phone here to contend with, and Nothing is launching the Phone 2 day one in the US, so we have a new player for you North American buyers. And you'll see full prices on screen now if you want to see each individual incremental option. I think there's competition with the Pixel 7 as the value for money champion here. No verdicts at this stage, as we haven't spent enough time to judge, but it does look pretty good on paper. I want to ask you what you're thinking. Do you hate it? Do you rate it? Let us know down in the comment sections below. Thanks for watching. This is Damien with Android Authority, and I will catch you in a bit.